And so welcome everyone to our Executive Leadership Council. Welcome, Andrea. You're going to see how we're meeting. Yeah. So before we introduce Andrea and before we introduce ourselves, we'll do a attunement and do a little check-in. I have a specific check-in, and then we'll introduce ourselves. So when you're doing the check-in, you're not introducing yourself yet to Andrea. So saying that, who would like to do the resonance? Anybody want to jump in?
It's jumping in. I love it.
Someone says no. Shelley, you want to do the resonance, the attunement?
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Okay, I'll jump.
Linda's jumping.
I'll jump.
Oh, let's jump. Okay.
I saw the hesitancy, so I will just bring us together in a breath and allowing ourselves to be blown by the wind, the sacred wind, the breath of God. Uh-oh. And in this blowing of the intelligence of the universe, we are caught in it. We are caught in the web. We are creating the web. We are wrapping this web of love and intelligence that we are around our planet. Knowing that we influence the field as the field is influencing us. And so we are open to guidance today, to listen with our eyes, to hear with our ears, to listen and hear, to open up all of our senses and receive whatever guidance we need. Bring ourselves present with each other and into this time together where we remember our joy and remember how we co-create easily and effortlessly together. So feel that gentle wind bringing you to your current place. Feel that gentle wind blow through your lungs and your heart, through your body, and to each other. And with that, we say Ahe, Matakwe-asan. We are here together.
The answers, my friends,
are blowing in the wind. That's it.
We could sing together. The answer
answers, my friend,
in the wind.
blowing in the wind. Answers are blowing in the wind.
I love that song. I had a reading by Jose a couple weeks ago now, maybe more than that. And part of the glyphs, I'm trying to learn this Mayan calendar thing. Shelley and I are on Wednesday nights trying to learn. And it's the first night was like, do I have to pronounce all these things? And do I have to oh, it was crazy. But I have, in my glyphs, I have the storm and the wind and the fire and the black obsidian doctor. Like there's a lot of natural elements are in my chart, which is kind of interesting. There's more to it. I can interpret it another time if anybody's interested, but it's kind of fun to have them come up in the fire to really feel your day with the bigger fire energy, and then to feel who you are blowing in the wind. And so, yeah, so I was like really today talking about the storms, the winds in the storm, because right now the wind is in the storm, but then there's also that gentle breeze and Linda's talking about that ease that comes with the gentle breeze and bringing that in. And so I'm going to start there with our storming last week. And Andrea, just forgive me for a minute. I'm going to bring you in a second. But we had a relatively stormy process last week that you'll kind of hear a little bit as we come back into our norming again. So be patient with me. But the storm is an important part for us to just come back into the gentle ease that Linda invited us into from where we were and where we left off. So I just want to start our check-in with the 5 of us doing a check-in, and Andrea, you could do a little check-in that's where you're at in your world. Just a brief check-in, and then we'll do a proper introduction of who we are to Andrea and let Andrea do a proper introduction to us. But so in our check-in, I want to just have us follow up with where we've been since that storm. And I'll begin because I think it's fascinating moving from how we all left off to where Shelley and I then were. I shared a little bit with Linda. Glenn pops back on. I shared a little bit with John. And Shelley, maybe you've shared with others too. But Linda totally didn't see the message. Glenn didn't see it till later and pops back in. But literally everything just like moved out. It was like a lightning bolt, boom. And this storm cleared. It was like cleared quickly, and you could see the horizon, and there was a rainbow. So for my check-in of where I am from last week to now, I just instantaneously saw that the storm was about the organism reorganizing. It really was how Good of the Whole was moving into its higher octave now, that really we're reorganizing into a higher level. And so, you know, a lot of times when we talk about group formation, you do the storming and the norming, the performing. What's the other one? John, who knows the other one? Group, storming, norming, performing, forming, storming, norming, performing is usually group dynamics. And somebody said that last week, and I'm like, we're not in the storming. We formed, we stormed, we normed, we've been performing. And all of a sudden it just occurred to me, no, we're reforming, we're remodeling, we're in this new reorganizing phase. And a lot of where I left was tending to what Shelley and I held for so long. What Shelley and I held for 8 years was literally needing to be tended to help it come into that reorganizing as well. And as the larger organism reorganizes. So the organism is reorganizing, hence Andrea's even here today. And so it's not that we're back to a square one of storming. It felt like, yeah, some things moved and we're right here. So with that, we can keep these check-ins however brief you want, but I just want to kind of check in with everybody after that process. I think it was a real significant process within the organization, within the organism, and a lot of energy moved and cleared. And I think, wow, higher octaves. We jumped 2 or 3 octaves, I think, in the meantime. And so we'll get to process that too when we introduce ourselves to Andrea. So with that, check in. Who wants to go next?
Well, I guess I can go next, given that I was part of the storm. It's not a very gentle one. I guess for me, to watch the designing intelligence of the field move in ways that I could not have imagined, to go from such intense story. And I think this was for me, the learning was, you know, we are very close to our skin, and we tend to stay really close to the story. And over the years, you know, this field has been, and I'll speak for myself, it has been inviting me to really trust it you know, to really level and restore and reestablish right relation. And what was fascinating to me was, even though there was a storm going on, there was something else going on, and it revealed itself in that moment after everybody left. And again, that it's I still feel like it's an invitation, it's a practice, it's a learning of how to hold the highest frequency for ourselves and each other. And in those moments, Julie and I couldn't do it for ourselves. We could not do it. And there's a lot of, but the angst was, you know, when we came together, the angst was that there was so much built up stress from all the years of holding it. And it was, and to come into compliance, the word that keeps coming is like come into compliance with it, you know, required a lot of storytelling and a lot of allowing the transparency of energy. And this is my bottom line, that it was about energy. It was energy. And when we're understanding ourselves as energy, and I wasn't saying that I was in that moment. I mean, I was definitely in the story. But what got revealed is a little more, a larger indicator of how we're being given something so incredibly precious. Because what ended up happening was that Julie and I had to hold the energy for ourselves, and that's where it popped. And so we had this like instantaneous realization that this is what it's really about. It's like, it's holding the highest frequency, staying out of the story, because the story is just energy wanting to almost like shake off, you know, like some animals. What's the animal that in Africa, is it the giraffe, that when it goes into trauma and fright and, you know, all this stuff from the lion chasing it, it shakes and shakes and shakes and shakes and shakes until it has freed itself. And it was almost like that kind of a thing. Like we were just, you know, there was just this need to hold it as energy moving. And that part of my realization and learning was that it was everything about good of the whole and the organism, and the intelligence of the field wanting us to get the power of, to me, the power of resonance, the power of our capacity to hold any amount of energy. And not that we all did it very well by any means, but that it was like, okay, this is the power of what we're bringing forth, is that, you know, there's so much love here that in the right moment, that energy will pop into its highest potential, into its highest frequency. And that's kind of what I'm holding, is to, you know, continue, okay, just learn. I think for me, it's learning how to become a better listener, and and staying really close to that home frequency within my heart, so that build up doesn't have to happen, and holding that for others and learning how to hold it better, and not to allow my energy to drop in somebody's story, but to allow it to, like, to allow the love to shine forth in amidst the transparencies that need to happen, because we are human, and we are in our humaning. So I guess that's kind of what I've come away with, and I'm grateful. Just want to make sure I say I'm grateful to, you know, John and Linda and Glenn for, you know, really attempting to be there, and for what needed to come through. So thank you. Listen.
Well, thank you, Julie and Shelley, for giving us an opportunity to be witness to these stories unfolding, and the intensity of the energy. And in a way, what you were talking about reminds me of a hose, you know, where everything is moving through. when there's a kink in it and that energy tries to get through our bodies, we have this shaking sensation, just like the animals you were talking about. And so for me, and working with energy for as long as I can remember, I know that good of the whole is, you know, I feel like from last Monday to this Monday, that kink that was there and blew open, and the energy is new. It's flowing. I know some really exciting things happened that I wasn't planning when Julie and I were talking about another program to offer. And so, for me, it was clear, you know, I was done with one thing and ready to move to another thing. So there's growth happening, and it's exciting. And thank you both for moving through it so quickly and then coming back and going, okay, it's done. that was beautiful. I mean, it's a good example that we're not holding on, we're not victims. You know, the story is the story, but there's something higher going on, and what you did was for the good of the whole, if that makes sense. So yeah, a lot is popping, and it's such a miraculous playground where we can feel what we feel and we can say what we need to say, and we know that we're held in love. And that's the constant. That's a given. And I'm really grateful for that. So I am still growing. We're not saying complete anymore, right? Still growing and grateful.
Okay. Oh, Glenn, you gonna go? I got it. So, yeah, as I reflect back on last week, it reminded me, one of my first jobs as a therapy intern was to work at a state mental health hospital. This was back in the 70s. And they still used electroshock therapy. And the whole concept behind that was things are concreted in someone's psyche and character. And so they'd hook up the wires and they'd blow it up into the air and hope for the best as it came back and reorganized into something new. And so, you know, I think I kind of closed myself off because it felt like what was needed was some therapy at the time, and I didn't feel like doing any therapy. That's the way I saw it. But since then, I see where, you know, even though we are an organization, there are individuals and individual relationships within the organization. And me being the new kid on the block, learning as I go along about the 8 years prior to present carries a lot of energy and carries a lot of patterning and carries a lot of single focus and all of the supportive energies that go along that purpose. And I really wasn't part of that, you know. And so when I experienced what I interpreted as being a personal reconstructive conflict within a long-standing relationship, it didn't surprise me, but I kind of just stood on the outside of it going, well, you know, got two people here that have been in an 8-year marriage, and they're reconstructing. And I got off, and when I came back on and there was laughter and everything, didn't surprise me in a sense. It was like, all right, the electroshock had been popped in, it blew up, and now it's coming back into form. And so, yeah. And so I think the remodeling, reconstruction is obviously, and it is for me too, you know, in a major way, in looking at my own life, my participation, what I'm doing here, and not having any answers at this point. So I'm just going to do my best to stay open and see what the new configuration is, and trust the resident field to let the wind blow in the answers, my friends. I think I'm complete. I'm not complete. Unfolding, as Ken said. I think that's a good way to put it.
Well, I like the unfolding part, so I guess I'm unfolding too. So, yeah, that was a pretty exciting time last week as the stories unfolded. And, you know, it did kind of impact me through the week in terms of just looking at, I don't know, I had kind of an interest, I had an introspective kind of a week. It's like, what's going on? What's happening? How am I doing? What's up? And it kind of felt like, well, I don't know, the stars were, you know, Mercury was rolled into retrograde or something. I don't know. However, here we are today, a new day, sun rose again. I get to see another sunrise. Life is good. We're on our way to who knows where, but just keep on riding this horse, riding this tiger, and seeing what do you got in store for me today, universe? And so here I am. So let's play. So, aloha, and since the last day our son's going to be here, so a little of that going on with Marion and I. So just out having coffee with him now. So it's all good. So let's rock it. So I'm complete.
Julie, can't hear you.
Julie, you're on mute.
Linda's sitting there going like this to me. Are you arguing with me? Or I said it feels weird to have Andrea do a check-in after that, because that felt like that just needed to be wrapped up. So let's move into more of the introductory, and Andrea can tell us where she's at right now and how her week has been, because she's been on a little journey too. But thank you all for your shares. It's good to come back and to just be present with that. And before we dig into Andrea, I just want to do a little celebrating so we can have a little virtual celebration party and like break open the champagne and let you know, Glenn already knows this, but after all that energy finally moved, the DBA for Ohana Legacy Foundation came through and it's been approved by the state. Woo! So now all we have to do is advertise it in the paper this next week. So yay! So that felt like nice, a nice little, as the organism is reorganizing and literally reorganizing for organization within an organization. And what's been very clear is that holding this in a different kind of leadership model has been a challenge, and how to hold this as a superorganism that has distributed leadership. The most important piece in distributed leadership in a superorganism, one of the most important pieces is, well, I should say two, because they go together. One is the field, like informing, like one is the collective consciousness within the organism. That then number two is the communication. So it's literally in a superorganism, there's communication going out instantaneously, coming right back, going out, coming back in. So that's a process and a system that we haven't had in place, is how do all the organs and tissues and systems begin to communicate within each other and with each other. Instantaneous communication going out, communication going in. So hence here we have Andrea coming on board. And Andrea and I met last week and literally talked about her role, and I'll just kind of fill you in on how that was, and then I'll let Andrea introduce herself to you, and then you guys can introduce yourself as to your passion projects, who you are, who you be in the world, and how you're showing up for good of the whole. So with Andrea, the most important thing that I think, if I would put just a few nuggets out for all of us, is that seeing her role as mostly spending the greatest amount of time on creating the systems and structures to help the organism function healthy. And with that, she's going to work on the systems and structures within these different elements and functions and things that are happening, so that we can operate with ease, so that we can have communication that's effective and really moving us to that higher order of really functioning within an organism that can function. And so we talked about that and how she'll spend her time and what the needs are. And so all of the things that literally were sitting in the field and needing to be moved are, again, a symptom of that lack of ease and flow within the different functions now, and really shifting that we're not co-leading anything anymore. The organization is a 501c3. It's an organization. It needs to operate within a legal structure and a new form to function. And so we're not just co-leading, and we're not holding it in that same energy that it was before. Just like renaming this committee, it's if we want to go talk to a big funder, or if we want to apply for a grant, we call ourselves an Executive Leadership Council, and they go, oh, I know who's in charge. And so we're moving out of this, how we've held it and how we've allowed the organism to grow and mature and we're not co-ing anything. We're co-creating with the field, but we're all co-creating our own pieces and our own parts, and have a different leadership model. So here we are, and it's as clear as mud sometimes, and it's extremely clear other times. So that storming might have clouded things, like I can't see through the storm, but then the storm clears and it's like very, very, very clear. Last week just seemed like a really poignant representation of moving to this next level and the systems and structures that will facilitate that for us. So saying that, here you are, Andrea, and I'll let you introduce yourself to everyone. You can take as much time as you want of just who you are and how you're feeling about this new call and this 90-day process that we're about to embark on. And you got to hear a little bit about the storming from last week too, but after an orientation and after being where you're at today and getting the new computer and the new notebook, and why don't you just say a little bit about you and introduce yourself, and then we'll do the same.
Yes, thank you, Julie. Oh, there's so much, but I will work on being concise. So I'm Andrea. I know we've all met before, but not in this capacity. So I'm really happy to be here. And Julie, I really appreciate the 2 hours we spent really talking about my role. And as I sit here and I'm listening and I'm embarking on this new journey with all of you, I recognize that I would not be here if I was not qualified to do the job. However, I am in new territory because distributive leadership is not common. And though I've worked with many 501c3 organizations, the organism that is good of the whole is new territory. And it's exciting, and also just recognizing like, this is brand new. And I can pull on, I'm gonna actually repeat that. I'm gonna rewind a little bit, because I do want to give an open invitation, because I think one of my challenges is going to be reframing language, because I've worked in nonprofit organizations and other roles where language is different than the language resonance that is being created with good of the whole. So just open invitation to be like, why don't you maybe say it like this? I'm totally open to that. So yeah, so this is just new territory. So I think that's the end of my sentence. This is new territory, and I'm excited to be in this new territory. And I also know that with the work of reorganizing and restructuring, chaos is a big part of that. And all the literature I've read on project management and nonprofit organizations is they'll say the messy work of nonprofits. Like, that's kind of the word that they use. Like, organizing is the messy part, but we'll just say it's the storm. And on the other end is the rainbow. I guess that's what I'm going to say. So I'm not afraid of that storm, because we're taking older structures and reorganizing them to work for good of the whole, and work for the organism that is being created here, and work with the frequencies that we want to be working with. So that's my understanding of this role. And I'm not going to be able to do it without you. I feel like this is a collaborative process. And I'm very excited, because I've been really looking to work in collaborative workspaces. And I have, but even in collaborative workspaces, it's not distributed leadership. This is a new concept to me. So I'm excited to see how that's going to unfold and what that's going to look like. And I will have to say, this kind of jumping of octaves that I've heard people speak about as things are reorganizing, I've experienced that myself in the field, where I've literally had visceral sensations of like changing octaves, like fractal experiences as, oh, I'm operating in a different space now, like literally visceral, like something has shifted. So, and I know that's the field working. That's the field working on me and with me. So that's really exciting. Oh, I don't know what else to say. I guess, you know, logistically, I recently went back to get my master's degree. I think you all know this. You've read my resume and the work that I've done. Part of the reason I returned to get my master's degree is because I wanted to get tools and skills to work, I guess, across boundaries. And what I mean by that is not necessarily, even though it was an international studies degree, I wanted to be able to create, I wanted to be able to affect a larger platform than I did as a yoga teacher. And I know that I was affecting people personally, and maybe even their families and their communities. So I'm really happy that I landed here. I think that's really all I have to say in this moment. I'm learning to listen as well, Shelley, and just be an active listener um, in every moment. Um, and I really appreciate also, Julie, this invitation because, you know, I'm the new one here. I'm the new kid on the block, and it's like I've been taught, you know, perform, show that you can do something, make progress, be effective. And when we spoke, Julie, when you were like, I invite you to pause, I invite you to breathe, and I invite you to be informed by the field, is something that's really helpful. And I've never been told before in a workspace to breathe, to pause, to get informed by the field. It's always been produce, produce, produce. And though I want to produce for all of you, I want to deliver what you've asked me to come on board to deliver. And I thank you for giving me those moments to breathe and to ask questions and to tune in and to work collaboratively with each and every one of you. And that transparency, um, I know will just continue to inform me as I grow and continue to grow in these 90 days. So with that, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm excited to bring my knowledge forward. I'm excited to be informed by the vast knowledge that's before me on this Zoom call to then inform my knowledge and make me a better person, a more effective person, and just keep moving in that direction. I want to say I'm complete, but I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm evolving. Thank you. I'm complete for now.
Thank you, Andrea. The running joke is on our call this morning on Heart Resonance. There was the notion that we're never really complete. And Shelley brought in the wisdom of Uncle Raoul. So let's all share with Andrea, just do an introduction of who you are, what you bring, what your passion is, yeah, how you're showing up for good of the whole, and just give her enough feel for the essence of who you be that she does know to pause and go to you to collaborate on certain things. So we'll open it up, whoever wants to jump in.
Well, Shelley was unmuted, so.
Oh, sorry.
I
Sure, I'll go, whatever. Well, Andrea and I actually, I mean, I feel really have talked quite a bit and just already know each other. And she's come into the connection field, been on all the calls, and so I don't think there's much of a introduction really needed. I'm just really happy to have you. I know that you are the new sprout. You know, you're the fertile, you're everything. You're the fertile field, you're the master adapter, you're coming in with your willingness and your love, and to really be present for the whole of us, and us as the organism itself, because it is who we are. And yeah, I don't really think I need to say too much more, other than for me personally, I'm definitely looking to allow that restructuring, reforming to support unraveling myself, having a little more time off, and being able to be way more present than I've been. Oh, I feel than I've been able to be, because I'm stretched way too thin. And so I'm not saying that that's your role. I'm just saying that's what I'm calling in for the organism, that it supports that distributive leadership and it's regenerative in the fact that it's restoring, it's nurturing for every single person who's here, that they can feel that they can bring forth their gift and be able to let go into it, enjoy it. And I have to say that's something I've just begun to do lately, go into places where I haven't been able to, but still I feel like I'm heartily present. And I'm looking forward to that shifting. So thank you for saying yes as supporting this composting, recomposting, restoration of and regenerative, innate regenerative capacity for the organism itself. It is that.
Thank you. Can I comment, Julie? Or should I wait till everybody's?
If you have something specific before they jump in, feel free. Yeah.
Yeah. Shelley, yes, I understand, like with the 80-20 that Julie and I were talking about, that it might not be my role to take things off your plate, but I'm excited to figure out how we can make your plate more efficient and more distributed. So you do have the time and the space and the presence. Like that's one of like the main bullet points that I have as we've been going over my role is how to make people's jobs easier in a sense, or more efficient or faster, or so yes, I'm excited to have those conversations with you. Thanks.
Well,
So welcome, Andrea. Oh,
there's,
you go ahead,
no,
Linda.
go.
No, no,
Fine.
no.
I didn't.
Oh. So aloha, Andrea. I'm Glenn, and I'm over in Kauai. And I don't know, I've been around this group a long time, with, between my wife, Marian, and I. Been here not quite from the beginning, but almost. I mean, we were very close with Barbara Hubbard for many, many years. And Barbara actually lived with us for a year. And so anyway, we've just been in this energy for a long time. And my role here at in Good of the Whole today is really about looking at sort of our organizational structure, the idea of these DBAs with a nonprofit. Looks like a new organizational paradigm for not just a physical sponsor, but being a brand, setting up a HANA Legacy Foundation as a brand, a trade name of Good of the Whole is unique from what I've seen. And of course, and that said, I haven't seen that much. So it's just unique from what I've seen. That's really it. Certainly want to invite you to drop in on our Ohana Legacy Foundation gatherings, which we have every Tuesday at 1 o'clock Hawaii time, which is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which is 8 o'clock, I guess, 6 hours Eastern time, which I guess you're in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
So we have I have a Zoom with my leadership team every Tuesday, and the next one tomorrow, Ricardo, our architecture team, is going to give a presentation about architecturally where they're at in terms of what we're doing. So hey, everybody's invited whenever you have the time and the space to jump in. You're always welcome. And so we're just figuring it out over there, but I do have a team of about maybe 20 people on my leadership group that range from architects to attorneys and farmers and all sorts of things. We're figuring out something to look at moving from a profit-centered housing to heart-centered communities. And housing, whole systems housing, and what does that mean, and how is it we reinvent communities that support us as we expand our capacities to live for the good of the whole. How do we really do that? How do we language that? How do we put that out to the world and forward face that to philanthropists and other foundations that have a heart for supporting that involvement? So just figuring that out one step at a time, and getting the DBA approval finally this week that's been a journey to do that, and we've gotten that done. So one of my next steps there will be to Julie, for you to add Ohana Legacy Foundation probably to our bank account, and for me to get the routing and account numbers and have some checks printed up, so I can then turn that over to PayPal and set up set up again just the foundational infrastructure, so that we're real, and people can donate specific ways, and it all just is really clear that this is a straight up and up opportunity to evolve things. I've always been an organizational kind of guy. I haven't had a real job since 1979 when I left the Air Force and started my first company. So I'm an Air Force former captain, veteran now. And so I've been involved with lots of different companies and organizations, and had an amazing journey of transformational leadership and involvement for myself, and to bring me to right now. So it's like, okay, so I just turned 70 last, I guess year before last now, because I'm 71. And so as I turned 70, took a look back at my life and my history and things that accomplishments, maybe, if you will. And it's like, okay, well, that's cool, but so what? And so how is it that I go bold now? And how is it that I make decisions in the space of good of the whole? And how is it I can make a difference in the world given the gifts that I've been given? So I'm just on that journey of constant clarification for myself and involvement. And I love this team that we have here with Good of the Whole. And I just wonder what's going to happen at the next breath if we keep going forward. So we just keep on, everybody, I think we're all doing the best we can and continually expanding our capacities to do more. And it's like, holy cow, where is this taking us? So what a fun journey. And I'm reading this book, Teaming, that Julie recommended. So I'm in that. And I love the way the ants and the termites and it's like, holy cow, look at the way these guys organize and get shit done. Wow. So here we are. So I'm complete.
Thank you. Teaming is the book?
Yeah, teaming. How superorganisms something. Yeah, it's teaming. Yeah, Teeming, not TAM. And I just want to just drop this in before John and Linda go, unless you have something, Andrea. But Glenn, I just learned something about you for the first time ever. I never knew you were a captain in the Air Force. Never. Like, how did I not know that? So thank you. That was a kind of a cool little thing. And you said something really important that I just want to drop in the field for our mission statement, which has been that we're here literally creating this, co-creating the ethos of wholeness, but we say, and nurturing our innate capacity to live for the good of the whole. And you just said expanding our innate capacity to live for the good of the whole. And we might be moving beyond nurturing to expanding, or nurturing and expanding. So thank you for dropping that in, because I think that came in just at the right moment right now. So thank you. We are expanding that innate capacity. So with that, I'm complete. I'll let Linda, John jump in unless Andrea wanted to say something. Okay.
Terrific.
Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, we are. We're expanding. We're growing. It's like, holy cow, I wonder where this is going to take us all. And it's like, I have no clue. I just know I'm along for the ride, and not only just along for the ride, but really to just be connected to the field. And as you and Shelley talked about, what's the field want? How is this? Okay, all our guides and masters. It might be fun sometime to do have a channeling with with our guides and masters and have them come in and say, give us some conversation about what's up, guys. Get your butts in here. Let's move this thing. What do you guys want us to do now? And do that in a conscious, deliberative way. I'm thinking.
Well, I can follow that up. Welcome, Andrea. And
Thank you.
I've seen you on a few calls, and I wouldn't be able to differentiate you from the resident field. As we come together, you fit right in and get that, which is a huge piece of now being able to use your gifts and talents to bring that through. So appreciate that. Just a little bit about me. I was listening to everyone else here, and good of the whole for me is kind of an accumulation. I started out as a therapist. Well, I didn't start out as a therapist. Well, maybe I was. I don't know. I was the oldest of 9 kids, and so I think I was a therapist at birth. But I went from working with individuals, and now that I'm going to use this metaphor, I love metaphors, but working with an individual is like working with a planet or a star. And then I started working, I got certified as a family therapist, and that's kind of like working with a solar system. And then I started working with corporations in different capacities, from team building, conflict resolution, systems work. And that's kind of like working with a galaxy. And yet at the same time, it was all very informative moving up to, and I feel like working with good of the whole is like working with the universe, where I feel most comfortable, actually, because there's a lot of space there and a lot of space for growth. And I feel like what we're doing is letting go of the belief structures and the processes that we use with working with individuals, working with small groups, working with large groups, and then working with the whole. And that's what it's about, knowing that each part is an individual part of that. So my thing is, I guess what I most enjoy doing is, I want to get the word out. I want to, as being formed, now that you're on board, I really got a feeling that the formation, and we will continue to be informed on formation. And then, just like you said, this is kind of a radical thing in a sense, and which I've always been radical, and I like that energy field, so that the changes that are needed in top-down corporations, basic consumer-based marketing gets shifted toward a more holistic look at, when we talk about consuming the love, the information, and the wisdom that comes through the resonant field, and consuming that, and then offering that as the product of our informed formation. So, and I feel like we're on the cusp of doing that in some brand new ways that I've had a number of people in the last 3 weeks be going like, well, what is this language? What is this new language? And I don't quite get it yet. And yet there's something very intriguing about it, and it's got my attention. And so my hope is that what we do here in the future is to have a whole lot of impact on people's curiosity as to where this next level and frequency of interaction and love and peace on the planet can actually take hold and manifest in a way that is, in fact, good for the individual, good for the group, and good for the whole. So I think with that, I'll never be complete. That's it.
So it's interesting that Shelley has said, I want to listen more. And Andrea, you said, I want to listen more. And I feel like for the last 8 years or however long I've been the one listening. And so in this reorganizing, there's something in me that's growing. I've been with Good of the Whole maybe as long as Glenn, maybe a little bit more than that. And I met Shelley and Julie at the Co-Creators Convergence and have learned about Good of the Whole as it was evolving. I was not part of it in the beginning. There was another woman who is a mutual friend, and since I live in Chicago, she was working with Conscious Evolutionary Chicagoland, eventually moved away from Good of the Whole, and then started doing her thing, but I was friends with everyone, fortunately for me. But there is something about the call of Good of the Whole that, although we don't know exactly, like John was saying, what is this? It's calling us, and we keep coming back and we keep answering, because innately we know that we are living, we have the desire to live, and the choices that we make that are always for the good of the whole. For me personally, I've been kind of a lone wolf building my own healing practice in Northwest Indiana and starting my own business of Inside Out Visionary Healing Arts. And since COVID came and shook us up, a lot has been changing. So because I'm not seeing private clients anymore, and I've been spending more of my time with Good of the Whole in the connection field, moving away from what was mine to now what is ours. So it feels great. I know that last week when there was a big hurricane storm and all the wind was blowing around, it crossed my mind. I don't know if it did maybe with Glenn because he felt very reflective. I don't know about John, but for a moment it's this question of what will happen to Good of the Whole if Shelley and Julie aren't part of it? Like, is this gonna, like, what's gonna happen? And so there was this great sense of, I really want to keep my anchor down and ground this love that we all have for Good of the Whole and just hold it. So, and trusting that the field knows where that this is a good thing and it needs to keep expanding. So it's allowed me to find new avenues of writing, teaching, and healing, which is what I've done all my life. And interestingly enough, well, I don't even know how to bring that up. So you and I had a conversation, Andrea, about Pachamama Pajama, you and Jerry and I. And it's the first time that I just kind of put out there that let's find out how we can pull this together. And so it's still this concept, it's still a concept. But that's all right, I'm being patient. I've always been patient enough to let the universe get that soil really fertile so that when the seed is planted, it will definitely grow healthy. And we've been tilling the soil. I think now that Ohana Legacy Foundation is a DBA of Good of the Whole, it gives somewhat of a doorway for me to learn and follow from for Pachamama Pajamas. I am willing to play, and I've said from the beginning, I have no idea how to do this. I don't look at it from a business point of view. I look at it from a concept point of view and a teaching. So I would be looking for people to do that end of it. which might be you, Andrea, hopefully. And personally, what's been interesting about all the energy that's been moving around and how we're reorganizing is that I feel in my personal body that things are reorganizing, and that, you know, there's some kinks in the energy and there's loosening in the energy. And I just found out this week that for the first time in my life, and I'll be 70 next April. So I've got a ways to go, but I have high blood pressure, and I'm like hypertensive, and I have extra heartbeats. So energetically, I would say I'm really upgrading. Physically and in the 3D world, I'm hearing go to the doctor. So, and Shelley certainly knows you can't mess around with your heart, your physical heart. So there's a lot happening for me in this reorganizing, in the storm, in the newness of where we're going. And I'm really happy and excited, Andrea, that you're on board. And for those of you who are listening more, does that open space for me to speak more? Maybe. I mean, I you know, I am who I am. So, but I am also growing, as I've said all day. So that's my check-in to you. That's my intro of me to you. And you know that you can find me and talk to me at any time. And I'm, you know, not complete. Incompletely, but fabulously growing with an extra heartbeat.
Julie, can I bring up one more thing? That'd be all right?
Sure.
Well, just want to say it's amazing to listen to us introduce ourselves and share what's meaningful and what matters, and the passion of what is coming through. And it's really funny. I've been sitting here, and the connection field calendar is sitting there behind it, and I didn't really realize as I was listening, I'm looking at it, I'm looking at it, I'm looking at it, I'm looking at it, going like, I don't see me doing what I've been doing. Like, I feel like I was the initiator of the connection field. I was a conduit in which it came through. But I don't want to do it. I mean, it's not like I don't want to do it anymore. It's something's bubbling up. Like I need to hand it over, because this is not who I am. And I didn't get that until I'm listening to each one of you. And I love, you know, the connection with people. I mean, I love helping people feel safe and feel like they can bring their voice forward and come forward. But it's like it's set in a particular way, and it's now time for the educational piece to come through. And I'm just listening. I think I needed to put that out. Like I'm done with this role of managing the calendar and all that other stuff. That's not who I am. And so I just felt like it was important in everyone sharing what was really moving for them. And I'm waiting. I'm happy to open to receive the information from the field. You know, what is next? What is meaningful? But I'm much more attuned to doing the resonant leadership, and really coming forth as my voice, and passing this off so that it can, I mean, it's stabilized, it's going, people are loving it. The educational piece needs to come in, but as far as managing everybody, like, no. So I just wanted to just own that and be willing to let the field bring in that person who is the right person to do it. So with that, I'm complete. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you, Shelley. I think that was a part of the organism reorganizing. And that message, and I don't know how many times I've said that just in a place of grace and benevolence to Shelley, that it's not her calling to be organizing the connection field or managing a calendar or managing a bunch of, so yeah. And with Andrea coming and developing the systems and structures and now having a connection field team, that this function within the whole can really, ultimately an executive director would be overseeing those functions, and then there are committees that are there. So in these early formative days of the connection field, we're lucky that at least this much structure has been put into place. Is Celeste there with you? No? Yes? I thought I heard a little
Sorry.
voice.
They came in. Yeah, sorry. I'm
Uh,
totally here, and they're doing their thing. But
Okay.
yeah,
I heard her cute little voice. She can say hi anytime. So anyway, yeah, so Andrea, you have us here, and you and I spent our time with orientation, and I think you're going to spend a little bit of time with me later, and then really get going next week. So with that in mind, you have everyone's ears right here, and you have their wisdom, their knowledge, their years of experience, life experience, let alone good of the whole experience. So I would invite you to just check in and see if there's anything that you want to ask or say or get a better feel for within this Executive Leadership Council. And that's the new name. We were the Advisory Council for a very long time. We switched a month or so ago to the Executive Leadership Council, so that literally we can have that form and structure necessary as we go to a bank for a line of credit, or we go to a funder that wants to make a big donation, so that we literally are bringing that old paradigm language forward into the new way that we're structuring it. And that was one of the big challenges that I worked with Andrea in our time, is how do you hold and embrace the old as we're evolving and transforming it to really fit and fill this, because we've tried to hold it without any of it for a long time to allow that emergent voice to come forward. And so now we're holding the old so we can transform it as we take every step going forward. So it is just a big task. And I love that Andrea says, I'm here because I'm the right person, and I don't know what the heck I'm doing, because that's the evolutionary impulse, and standing up and saying, I'm willing to allow that evolutionary impulse to work through me to create that form and structure, and to be that brand new thread that wants to be pulled forward. And you'll fit right in with how we've held this for years. So Andrea, while you have us here, I invite you to, check in if there's anything specific that you need from this group. And I don't know why this wants to presence itself right now, so I'm just going to share what happened to me earlier today, because perhaps this is part of the trusting the mystery of life. And Glenn said, let's invite all of our mentors and guides and ancestors and all the extraterrestrials, or who are here to support this work, and have a channeling or a reading. This afternoon, or this morning, I don't know what time it would have been this morning, because Shelley and I met at about 12:30, 12:45. So it was this morning, after the Heart Res call, I went in to make sure that the iPad was still turned on, because I plug it in the bathroom. Funny place, but we charge our phones in there and keep them out of the bedrooms. And so I went in to make sure that the iPad was still on and that it didn't drop off, because sometimes it does that when we're switching. And I just looked over toward the window, and literally there's this, I showed Shelley briefly, and it's kind of hard to interpret through a camera screen here, but literally in the bathroom, there was it looked like a bubble. It looked like a soap bubble that you would blow floating around. And I'm like, what is this soap bubble. Like, what is this? And I look at it, and literally it looked like a hair that literally was shaped in a circle. I'll share it with you all. You got to see this. It was almost a circle. It had a little bit of an open edge, so it wasn't a complete circle. Perfectly round circle. And this hair was floating around the bathroom, moving up and down and up and down and turning sideways and going over to the plant and playing and like almost going to get caught in the plant and then backing back out and coming back out. 13 minutes and 13 seconds before I turned the camera off, because I was just in awe, and I turned the camera off, and then it pops back up and it like, I still want your attention, please. There was nothing moving with air in that bathroom. The air conditioner was not on. It hadn't been on. There was no fan. There was nothing. It was as still could be. And this little round, it wasn't an orb and it wasn't a soap bubble, but it literally, so then I began communicating with it, and it would respond to me, and it was moving when I'd say, you're getting too low. Would you please rise so I could continue to see you? And it would literally come back up again. So fascinating experience today. I don't know what it means. I will definitely be doing some sitting with it and communicating about that to really take that in. But to saying that about us, we're all living in this mystery. We're living in the field as it's reorganizing. We are it. We are this evolutionary core, this evolutionary impulse. Here's who we are. And I love that John brought in the universe, from the individual to the family system to the community to like literally holding the universe. That's what a global transition team really is about, the whole of this, and how we can affect life on this planet and beyond this planet for the good of the whole. And so even bringing in something like Ohana Legacy Foundation that totally will wake people up to the old paradigm and have them think outside the box of what you're building, what all of those pieces and threads that are going to come through this beautiful organism that is now an organization is really exquisite and incredible. And just sitting in the mystery of that, like I literally, I didn't know I was there for 13 minutes. I'm videotaping this. And then when I finally stopped, I looked down and it was 13 minutes and 13 seconds that I'm watching a round sphere dance. It was crazy. It would go down by the white tub and disappear. And so I'd say, come back up because I see you better with the plant. It literally was an entity here. And that's what we have to trust, is that that's who we're developing into. And as we're evolving, anything is possible. So thank you for letting me share that story. I'm sure there will be more about that story moving forward. I'll try to share that video with you guys. I don't know how to upload a 13-minute video from my phone. I would if it was on my computer, but I'll have to figure out how to upload it somewhere on my phone. So with that, Andrea, you have this wisdom, you have incredible creative genius right before you. If you look on the screen, there's incredible creative genius. And the best thing about the creative geniuses here is they do listen to the field and open themselves to be instruments of this gorgeous creative impulse that's right in front of us all. So yeah, what do you want to learn from these people before you really hit the road next week?
Oh, so much I want to learn, and I know it'll be continually evolving. That shape, Julie, it brought to mind, and I forget the name of it, but in Japanese calligraphy, in Buddhist calligraphy, there's the shape that is in completion, but not depletion, but in the wholeness of the consistently evolving, incomplete, ever expansive growth, which is a beautiful shape. Oh, and also I just wanted to speak, I wrote little notes here. John, when you were speaking about your passion being to really get the word out and to ignite curiosity, my kind of my mantra at the beginning of this new year, which is a little bit of monkey medicine because I'm a monkey, is if be joyful, and if you can't be joyful, be curious. So that's the mantra I live by right now, is being curious, and I feel the connection, feel the good of the whole. And what I know mostly up until this point is through the connection field is this invitation to be curious. So I'm not sure what to
Can I
say.
respond? Can I respond to that real quickly,
Yes.
Andrea?
Yes.
So here's what I trust more than anything else.
Uh-huh.
And I'd like to have you really hear this from me. And I'm probably the
Mhm.
same for others too, but just from me. If I ask you something, I'm not needing an answer in the traditional form, okay? I ask a question to elicit higher questions. And so that's where the joy and the creativity is. So if I come to you and say, Andrea, can you do this, or what do you know about this, or whatever, you don't have to have a solid answer to satisfy me. It's like, yeah, I wonder that too. What can possibly happen? What's next? So I love what you're saying there, and the love is in the question, not the answer for me. So I
Yeah.
just want to share that.
Thank you. I thank you for bringing that up, because that's one of the practices that I'm working with my teachers right now, is the art of language and asking questions that elicit questions that get to the higher answer. But it's unwinding that kind of that programming that a question needs an answer, and rewiring the question needs a question. So yes, I'm on that page, and that's a practice that I'm really stepping into this year as well. And I think it goes well with the curiosity, because curiosity doesn't necessarily need answers, but more questions. So yes, I already feel like I don't want to say I'm overwhelmed, because again, that's like a programming language, but I feel like a bubbling up right now of emotion. And I feel this storm, particularly speaking in the storm Trisena that we're in now, is a little bit fragile. At least it is for me on the first day of storm. Well, the last day of the road Trisena, which was the storm that started the storm Trisena, my car died. It totally just decided to clonk out on me. And it's really interesting, because I've been praying for my storm, as I know the storm is coming, was coming, and we're in this kind of cycle of the storm, for my storm to be a rain shower. So I was surprisingly just almost comedic about my car dying. I'm just like, there it is. It's a new day. Now I have to get a new car. So I don't know why I said that story, but that's like the storm that I'm in a little bit, is like this restructuring, and like everything is new right now. And it's exciting, and it's slightly unnerving at times. I feel that the questions, I feel like stepping back. Thank you, Julie. I just want to say thank you, Julie, for opening this space for me to ask questions. I do feel that the pause, they're going to come to me at 2:00 in the morning, and I'm going to be writing them down. because I don't know yet. I'm really just taking in all of this information and giving myself permission to not have the answer or not even have the question yet, but to really take in the words, the body language, and organize that in my own knowing. So I'm not just asking questions to fill space, but to really get informed. I'm so looking forward to boots on the ground asking organizational questions, because that's where my mind wants to go. And those questions that elicit more questions. So I can have an understanding of where this organism, I see that like it's like this floating organism in the universe, that's kind of constantly moving like a swarm of bees, even, all working together collectively, but constantly in motion around the queen, which is what's coming through to me is the queen is the heart resonance. And we're all swarming around that and dancing together and working together to keep that heart resonance warm. So Julie, I don't have anything to ask right now, but that's not to say that I don't in the future. I'm just taking it all in.
Perfect. And
Yeah.
perhaps we'll just follow whatever emerges here. Perhaps there's something that one of the executive council members would like to share. But I want to say that the book Teaming came up, and I talked to Andrea about the superorganism model, and the book Teaming is a good book. But for another good book, and I have a recommendation. Somebody recommended the book by Tazzy, which is Biomimicry in Organizations. I haven't read that book. I have it, but I have not read it. Biomimicry in Organizations. But the gold standard is Janine Benyus. She has done incredible work on biomimicry, and she has a book called Biomimicry. And Janine is the gold standard when we're talking about innovation and using biomimicry and how nature works and nature's laws and how to apply that. So we're all learning together. The book Teaming is simple, and the book Biomimicry with Benyus is really technical and scientific. It's not as easy of a read as Teaming is a real simple read to get all the way through it. So I just wanted to drop that in, since who said they're reading Teaming? I think Glenn did. So, and Shelley has it, I know, and has been reading it. So yeah, anything else then from the field? We usually go 2 hours, Andrea, and we don't have to go 2 hours today. We can certainly wrap this earlier. This Monday call is usually a 2-hour call that we get a lot of work done. Yeah, so anything else that's been moving during our time here together for anyone?
I'll speak, even though I was like, I have nothing to say. I will speak. So I would like to, I feel that it would be important for me to read both or one of those books. So the biomimicry, is that just, it's just biomimicry?
Yeah,
the name.
Here, let me look up Janine and I'll get you the name of that book.
Or even the author's name, Janine.
Yeah, Janine Janine Benyus, Benyus.
Okay.
She's, when people start quoting people on biomimicry and superorganisms, they'll quote her. She
Okay.
is like the leader. And there is a subtitle to it, and I don't remember. It's like innovation. I cleaned up my office here, and it used to be sitting right here. So right now it's like back here on it in another
Well,
place. I cleaned it up. But
I think I can find her through her name and biomimicry.
and you'll find
But I just,
yeah, she's got a website. You'll find lots if you just Google her name.
okay, great. Thank you.
And look at Glenn sitting by a gorgeous pool, and then he pulls his video off. I'm jealous.
I just want to add just the beauty of this connection that's happening here. And I feel like there's a potentiality that's being held here. And I'm also noticing this sense of relaxing into the field, relaxing in since you've said yes, and just listening to your, just noticing your voice and the way that you're composing your words, and yes, the articulation, but more about the energy, more about, this is like, you know, I love how you came in and how it all happened, and it feels like it's still that same, again, you know, to me it's like the field saying, you can trust me. You can trust me. I'm going to bring in just the right people. I'm going to move this just the way it needs to go. And that is it feels like a deepening. So less about roots going down, but it just feels like almost like the soil, you know, when you put on really rich humus soil and you put on compost, and it has a sort of buoyancy to it. And then the plants go in, you kind of pack them in, and they can start to put their roots down. And I feel that. I feel there's a sense of richness. And I also want to bring in on this call the conscious opening to abundance for all. Like, that's really important. That, you know, I hadn't heard it be talked about yet, but I want to bring in the financial abundance for the good of the whole. That it is time, and it's time for us to, you know, not only you to get paid, but for all of us, and in the reciprocity that would be naturally happening from this organism, and how that looks. And it just felt really important to just, like, the word that's coming to me is bounty. That, you know, when I feel into the word bounty or bountiful, I feel into this really amazing state of wealth, and wealth in all areas for everyone. But sometimes it's easier to do, you know, it's like, okay, I'm, you know, serving for the good of the whole, and I'm doing it for everyone else, but I want to really bring it, like, as saying this to you directly, like, I want to bring it home here. I want to see it happening here. And so calling all of us to hold that, and feel that, and taste what that would feel like. You know, I was talking to Julie this morning, and it's like, I have to have a computer like tomorrow. Like, this is not a joke, you know. And it's just like, wow, what would it feel like just to have that flow, to not even think about that, you know, to pay us to go to different cities, or, you know, I just want to just, like, permeate the field with, yeah, peace and love and all this, you know, amazing stuff, but let's permeate it with, like, just a reciprocity that we haven't experienced here yet. So I just wanted to pass that forward, and I don't know if anyone else wants to talk about that, but just felt really important.
I want to just say that the tagline for teaming is how superorganisms work to build infinite wealth in a finite world. So there you go. That's teaming. That's the teaming book. and that's Tammy Woolley Barker. And then here's the biomimicry and organizations that I said I haven't read. Business management, inspired by nature. And this is a super easy, it looks like it's self-published probably. Someone sent it to me and it's like super easy. They want to be on my radio show. And of course I haven't even read it yet, but look, it's like super easy, fast, quick read, really thin. And then here's the biomimicry book with Benyon, innovation inspired by nature. And hers is really about projects and what have you, but you'll get the idea of the biomimicry piece, and it goes along with the teaming piece with superorganisms. So those are those 3 books. Okay, I'm complete. Thanks, Shelley, for the abundance dropping into that fertile soil. Yes, it's time for that. Not only the sprouting of the seeds, but the growth and the flowering and the fruiting and the harvest. So thank you.
One other quick thing, which I forgot, but I want to bring in. I've been approached by someone else to have a DBA. She really wants to have, she's been in the connection field. She wants to have a DBA. It's called The Torch. I haven't investigated it, but maybe Lynn, I just realized I'll connect Lynn with Glenn, maybe? Is that how we want to do that? Or I don't know. But she's been asking me, and The Torch, and she's involved with groups and doing stuff in Pakistan. And anyway,
Let's just run it by this council, perhaps, of getting a feel for who that person is, if it fits into our mission and vision and resonance before you head them over to Glenn, just so that we go, that sounds like, let's begin exploring. Yeah.
So basically get the information from her and then pass it to everybody here would be the pathway that we want.
Well, I'm gonna suggest that maybe, as opposed to taking the council's time, that maybe it comes to me first, and then maybe Shelley and I talk about it and then bring it to the council. It needs to go to that next step. Respecting everyone's time in terms of at least an initial vetting.
If you're up for the vetting part, awesome, Glenn, go for it. That would be a huge gift. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it feels like that would maybe be I don't know, a more reason as opposed to everybody being in on that initial conversations. Yeah. Just, unless you want to, I mean, it's okay with me either way, really, frankly. But.
No, if you're up for the vetting, I think that fits your role as that primary steward. So thank you. Yeah, I mean, that's huge, but yeah, I say go for it.
Yeah, so I'm happy to talk with her, Shelley, or have a 3-way or Zoom together. And I just posted my Zoom number for the Ohana Legacy Foundation on Tuesdays in the chat. So you guys can pick it up there and join whenever you can.
What's the name of the person with the torch?
Lynn, she's been on all the calls. She's on all the calls, a lot of calls.
Chittick?
Chittick, Chittuck, I think. No, Chittick.
Is she in, I want to say, is she in Boulder?
Well, her family, she's got a lot of family members that live in Boulder, and she was supposed to come when she was going to come visit, and then things happened, and she's in Marin.
Okay.
But she's been asking, so I'll connect us up. She loves Good of the Whole, and she loves the connection field.
I'm just saying, she may have been one on the whole systems and call housing place as well.
Oh, she might have been. Probably was. That would make sense.
So I have a couple questions, and probably they'll be for next week. So I'm just going to drop these seeds into the field. And one is that, Julie, if you can find that document again about the different organization, who belongs where, I forgot what it's the structures, the
I got you. Yeah.
If you could re-email that, that would be helpful. And then my another question for Andrea and for all of us is, who and how do we contact? Should we just ask, what's the best way of communication? Should we have Andrea be on our little text thread if we just need something? Or when do we talk to Andrea and when do we talk to the whole council here about whatever? So the other question is, what's the best way to get Andrea on board in communication? And the other thought was about the connection field. I know there's a team, and Shelley, since you're pulling back, who is going to take that place? I'm not volunteering. I'm just asking.
So here's the deal. Like, I'm not jumping out. I'm making
Okay.
a statement to the universe that that person's got to come pretty soon. And I thought, and we'll see what happens after. I was sort of mentoring Jess, and I mean, basically Jess and Amani and Jerry are somehow, I don't even know how it's happened, have become this working component inside of the connection field. I don't see any of them being the person, but I think I don't know what's going to happen with Jess. We have to wait it out a little bit, few days, kind of see how where she rolls around to. She's a little bit, all of it takes a little bit. So I don't think it's necessarily that person, but I'm just putting it out there because it was a realization that I just had, like, you know what? I initiated it. That was my role. I said yes. And now it's stabilized on some level where someone can come in and we just hold it for who that person is. And
And let me say that in 90 days, that person would hopefully be an administrative director. That in 90 days, after we put systems and structures in place and we've done fundraising and we're in a place where we're supporting an administrative director, that administrative director would be over those volunteers and teams, and that the systems and structures are in place because Andrea's here to help us put the form and structure into the energy that's already here. So remember then the leaf thing that I shared on the Mentoring Stewards call Wednesday is that we have the energy, it's already sprouted out, and now we need to bring the form in to follow the energy. And if we follow that rule of co-creating, we're good, which feels crazy making because we should have form and structure before something's implemented, and it's counterintuitive to how we normally create. But that function would be something that I would imagine, and Andrea will have to like flesh that out with the help of all of us and our work together, but that an administrative director would be over the connection field and a lot of the forms and functions that are moving, the operations, the organs, the tissue, the bones, the systems that are in place. So that's to answer your second question is, we don't have that person now. Shelley doesn't have someone in mind. She's got a huge, beautiful team underneath that's the connection field team. And yet, hopefully by the time we put that form in place, it would be someone that's hired to do that job. And then go back to your first question, Linda, I would hate for those communication lines to get started. I think Andrea will create communication pathways for us, and then it will be easier to get a hold of. Everybody will be on the same page. Andrea's going to help create the communication pathways so that everything goes out and in simultaneously from all directions. And that could be a daunting task once we get going with so many other things. So there'll have to be organization to the pathways so that we're cued in. It's like using a hashtag on Google or using a hashtag in Instagram, that we create the pathways that make it really easy to find what's relevant for me and my role, you and your role. So hashtags might be it. We can use hashtags in Facebook groups. We can use hashtags anywhere to pull up what's relevant, but she'll create the pathways. So when you ask what's the best way to communicate and get Andrea in the loop, be patient. She'll be creating that, and then we'll be able to move with it. So,
Perfect.
And not inundate her with everybody sending stuff to her. like literally she's going to work with me to work organizationally, and the distributed leadership then comes in to do those communication loops and pathways. So we'll get there. Let's all just see it happening, building those neural pathways.
Mhm. I would like to speak on that really quickly as well. And as that's being created, the communication pathways and also the structure and form, I think it's going to, I know it will then inform the tasks that are needed to take off from Shelley's plate. And then knowing those tasks will then inform who the right person will be. So I don't think it's important right now who's that person, but I think that's going to be revealed as we kind of suss out your needs, Shelley, and what needs to be distributed. So I'm really excited about that process. And another thing I wanted to just mention really quickly, the reciprocity. As we develop this form and structure, funding streams, that's not going to be separate than the form and structure. I really see them as the organism form and structure having streams. That's how I might use another word. We'll see how it develops, maybe an analogy with nature as I start reading biomimicry, how that funding that reciprocity can be regenerative. So that's an exciting piece as well that I don't see as separate from the form and structure, but a part of the form and structure. And I think when we meet on Thursday at noon, we can even start to talk about some of those communication pathways. And so we have an idea of how, even before next week starts, of what direction we want to move. So, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Andrea. So anything else for Andrea before we close? I feel like full. There's full. Glenn.
Well, I don't have anything for Andrea, but I do wonder about the 13th agreement.
About the what? 13th agreement?
Julie?
Is that what you said? I can't hear you.
You said the 13th. Remember the 13th.
You were supposed to share that with us.
Yeah, the 13th agreement.
Are you going to come back on screen so we can share it with you? You ready?
Thank you for asking, Glenn.
Completely.
Oh, now you're black. You're like you blacked out. Where'd you go, Glenn?
Sounds
So
like
yeah,
yeah.
the 13th agreement is kind of talked about in my first book, and it is the topic of my second book, ironically. Are you there, Glenn? I can't see you. Can anybody see Glenn? I don't see him. Glenn.
He probably can hear you though.
There you are. He went back inside. Okay. So I'll let.
Now you can hear me.
Okay, cool. The 13th agreement. Trust the field.
Oh.
Trust the field. That's the simplest way I could say. John and I, as psychotherapists, went through, I'm sure, John, you did in your training, where they constantly said, trust the process, trust the process, trust the process. And you're like, you want me to get in front of a person and start talking? And trust the process. You want me to facilitate group therapy? Oh my God, there's all these people or a family system, and trust the process. And so the 13th agreement is trust the field. Really trust the field. The field will reorganize. The field can hold that. There's so much more to say about that, but in the short of it, the 13th agreement is trust the field. Shelley.
I think it also was expanding from that. It's trusting it, but it's also allowing it to do its work. Like it's like an action. It's not just like it's an action. It's to be willing to, and to know that it's almost like know the field, know that you are the field. That field can hold, to allow it to raise its frequency, to allow it to bring that home frequency home to whomever, whatever's going on. And I think it's a practice. So yeah, it's one to say, I mean, I get the trust field, but it's actually more of for me, when we were talking, it was more of it was more than listening. It was actively engaging with the field, like being that conduit that can hold the frequency while the energy's recycling and trying to do what it's doing through whatever stories, arguing, whatever is coming forth. But it's like, I mean, to me, it's a very blissful place to hold. So I don't know, more languaging on that, but
Yeah, I don't know what the language it is, but that was a good.
That's perfect. It's exactly what came up in Grounding the Force of Love last night. That word allow, and let love do what it will do. We have to open and allow that. Perfect.
You know, Stephen Covey had a very successful book called The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. And then he wrote another book called The 8th Habit, which was Find Your Voice.
Mm.
So here we are, engaging the field, trust the field. So
well, I
it
love
could
that.
be that.
It really fits with standing in your sacred authority. It's like being so in that certainty that you can, it's really being that sphere of influence, literally being that holding your hoop and just watching the energy, how it's going. And then when you're called, you know, bring it forth and stand fully.
Trust the
I
field.
guess what I realized was any one of you on that call could have just said, let's take a breath, or let's, okay, all this energy has moved. Now let's just breathe and be with what's really true. What is the truth of this circumstance? And I know Julie and we would have just ridden right with you. And that was the popping that we heard was that sense of, like, I got your back. We're always looking for people to have our back, but I got your back.
Trust the force, Luke.
Was that just a hand motion, or is that like I got something to?
I tell you what. I was sitting in that circle with you guys. I did not at all want to engage with or alter or stop or influence whatsoever the discord energy that was going on there. I think it had to play out exactly the way it played out, because if we'd have taken a breath before it reached that fever pitch, that fever would still be boiling at some level, waiting to come to the surface. It all came to the surface. How do I know that? I got off when I came back in. You got laughing your asses off.
I know.
Right? I don't think if we had taken a pause, you'd have been laughing your asses off. You might have come to, oh, okay, good. I think it played out just fine. That energy had to dissipate in order for the next evolutionary step to happen. I think the field was very operative, actually.
And that's to say that, like, literally what you're saying literally was that was the field.
That was the field.
When we came back in, it was the field. And it really was an important piece, though, for our humaning within the field.
Yep.
And the other piece of, like, standing in our sacred authority, my dog's getting sick over here. Standing in our sacred authority is literally bridging the heaven on earth. It's bridging the cosmic and the human. It's literally standing in our sacred authority. It takes us out of ego and separation, and it bridges that and creates that grounding in the force of love that we were talking about. So sacred authority, standing in sacred authority, elongates that process of humaning and ego and connects that in a beautiful way. So I think that's an important piece too, is when we are in sacred authority, there's no ego, there's no separation, there's no need to do that you were saying, John, needed to work its way out. It's true, it needed to work its way out because we weren't standing in our sacred authority. So yeah, and then having the field hold us. And nurture us and expand us and cultivate that. So.
And it is humaning. It is just humaning. I think that's so. I was also very, now that we're finished up, because I have to go, everybody does. I was very intrigued by Linda, your decision to make that demarcation when you did. I thought the timing was, I went, wow. You know, I thought it was very, and I took the cue and I got the hell out of there.
You went off so fast, John, and then
I know.
so fast, and I'm like going, what? And Glenn and I are like, what just happened? We weren't ending this. What happened? And then Glenn got off, and then Linda and I got off. Yeah. It was fascinating. Great process. Andrea, if you ever want to learn more, we have it all on videotape. We can share it with you. It's not necessary, though. The learning that came through the process was fascinating.
Yeah.
Huge. Yeah.
Very human.
I still love the pathway, though, that came through. Surrender, forgiveness, gratitude, and reboot, or whatever word you want to put in for that. Recalibrate, reconnoiter. And or recess, you know.
It's interesting because when Julie and I got on, that wasn't it wasn't enough. It wasn't holding the field. It was great. It was great information, but when we got off and we went, what the hey, you know, because we both looked at each other, and that's when we started laughing when we realized that it didn't actually. I mean, actually, I want to say this: like, it didn't do it. It was
I did
something
that on purpose.
Huh?
I did that on purpose.
Oh, you did what on purpose?
What didn't work?
Oh,
it wasn't enough.
Oh, you did that on purpose? Oh.
I think Linda's trying to tease you and joke about it. Is that what you're doing, Linda?
So that you could go, what the hell just happened? You know, I don't want to like do those 4 things. It's not enough. And then the field let you do what you needed to do. You could laugh at it. You could do nothing with it. You could heal from it. Whatever happened.
It was great. Yeah, no.
I had nothing to do with it. None of us had anything to do with it. The field was taking you and you were in it, and we were the blessed witnesses to how to human.
To allow the humaning, yeah, for sure.
Allow it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we should have a closing. Let's just close before we.
Okay, Shelley, you're it. Close us.
Well, there's only one way to close this, is with just huge love and huge gratitude to the field itself, to the designing intelligence that continues to bring us together in its spiral, its spiralic nature, and always come to that point within the toroidal field where we come home and come home and come home. And I'm just holding that love. And so with that, just taking a breath, and just sending that out for the whole entire world, that what we're receiving here gets 1,000 million-fold. It's hitting every spark, every heart, so that they can come home to their heart and to trust the field. Blessings, everyone. Thank you so much. Love, love, love. Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome, Andrea.
Thank you.
Welcome, Andrea. Aloha.
Thank you. I'm so excited. I'm so excited, and just feeling like so humbled and blessed to be here with all of you, and excited just to grow and learn. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And produce pathways of communication that work for all of us.
Oh, pathways to love.
Pathways to love.
Beautiful.
And
Ahola.
Well,
I
hold
look
on.
forward to speaking with each and every one of you. Like, I really want to be doing this as I'm coming on board, having that time. So you'll be hearing from me.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank
All
you.
right.
can we talk about the connection fields at some point?
Sure.
Hey, no, stay on, Linda, and Julie and I are gonna, right? Julie, are we gonna do that or not?